Okay, this is the second part of estimating existing sprinkler design. As I indicated in part one, it is not about estimating cost, but through detective work, attempting to come up with a sprinkler design density based on our observations and other information. And it's when there is no hydraulic placard or sprinkler plants. So in the first video, what we did was learn how to sketch out a system, which is obviously critical to understanding what's up at the ceiling. Now, the second part of this is understanding the age of the installation. It's critical because only certain installations were in place at certain periods. So, for instance, there was no ESFR system in the 1930s. That didn't exist. So what we need to do is establish the age of the installation. There's a number of ways to go about doing that. Probably the easiest of which is the age of the building. That's not to say the sprinkler system could not have been installed at a later date, and many were, but the age of the building is a good indicator of what the age of the sprinkler system is as well. The second piece of information is the sprinkler head. The sprinkler head may have um, date information on it, maybe on the base, it may be on the frame, it may be on the deflector, but there's information that will give us the date of the head and likely the installation as well. Now there's a SIN associated, identification information that's associated with the sprinkler as well, but that didn't come into place until 2000. So for our purposes, the SIN's not probably going to be all that important. Then the final piece of information is date on castings, which give us a rough idea of the age of the installation. So what we're going to do is look at period milestones. And this is my breakout. Someone else might have a different breakout, but this is the breakout that I use to establish different sprinkler designs and methodologies. So the first would be at the initiation of NFPA 13, 1896 to 1905, and that would be a 1-2-4 pipe schedule system. I'll explain what pipe schedule means in a minute. Then 1905 to 1940 was the 1-2-3 pipe schedule system. And 40 to 53 was the 2-3-5 with the breakout of light, ordinary, and extra hazard occupancies. 53 to 72 is important because of the new sprinkler head, which I'll discuss in an upcoming slide. 72 to 89, 72 is the introduction of the occupancy density curves, and 89 is an arbitrary number in my case that I use for the introduction of the ESFR, although there were large key factor heads that were introduced before that, but that's the breakout that I use. So as you can see, there are two sprinkler heads. The one on the left is a 1946 upright star half-inch K 5.6 head. You'll notice that the deflector at the top looks very small. And to the right is a star upright head, date unknown. But you can see clearly that the frame itself looks similar. The fusible link is different types, but it's mainly the deflector type. That's one of the big differences. And in the old style head, the pre-53 head, the deflector allowed for 40% of the water to be directed upward. And the purpose behind that was based on the consideration that much of the construction was combustible, and the water hitting the ceiling provided a cooling and extinguishment factor for the ceiling, as opposed to the newer 53 models that with the larger deflector that directed the water downwards. So we use that 46, that's 1946, that's probably a late 80s head, but I'm not sure when that head was made. But the 1953 is the delineation between the two heads, and we use that as kind of a marker to establish date of installation. Okay, let's get into this concept of pipe schedule. The first pipe schedule established in 1896 to about 1905 was the 124 pipe schedule system. I've never seen an installation between 1896 and 1905. As a matter of fact, the earliest installations I saw were a little bit before World War I. But let's just go through this. So one, if you look to the right, it says one, and then you look to the left. Those X's are sprinklers. The 3/4 inch indicates that it's a 3/4 inch line, and you can see that there's what appears to be a line with this kind of squiggle mark there. And all it says is that the one indicates that one pipe, in this case the 3/4 inch line, is feeding one sprinkler head. If we go to the two, it says that two pipes, and I have them two sprinkler heads, and I have them encircled, are being provided by a 1-inch line. And then finally, four, indicating that four heads, 1, 2, 3, 4, are being fed by an 1.25 inch line. 124 system, like I say, it's uncommon to see installations in the 1896 to 1900. I think to be pretty interesting to do an internal examination as to what they looked like. This is a 123 pipe schedule system from 1905 to 1940, and I saw many systems just like this. And the one, in this case, is still being provided, the one head being provided by the 3/4 inch line, the two being provided by the 1-inch line, 3/4 and 1, and then the three being provided by the 1.25 inch. So you can see that the next line would have been an 1.5 inch, and providing larger piping for better water flow. The 3/4 inch line is a interesting subject. I'm going to leave that to another date, but there's a lot to be said about it in inspectional purposes and head densities, that sort of thing. It's going to be readily apparent once you've seen a number of end lines. You'll be able to easily differentiate the 3/4 inch from the 1 inch once you've been doing this for any length of time, because it's the 3/4 just looks small to you. So if you do this for any length of time, will immediately gain an appreciation for the difference between the 3/4 and the 1-inch line. As of 1940, we went to the 235 for an ordinary hazard pipe schedule system. As you can see, there are two heads being provided by 1 inch, three heads being provided by 1.25 inch, and five heads being provided by 1.5 inch. So, and then there's also a 125 system, which for time purposes I did not include in this discussion. You can look that up and kind of sort out what that would look like as well. There's deviations from the 235 if you have more than 8 heads there on one side of the cross main. Then there's an increase in pipe size, but generally this is what you're going to see as a 235 pipe schedule system. Again, I'm going to leave what it would be like if you had 60 heads. What's the size of the piping? I think it's a good thing for you to go through NFPA 13 and sort that out and find that on your own. So I purposely did not put that in the discussion here. I purposely, off the top of my head, could not tell you how many heads are included in, if there was 85 heads. It's just not something I remember. What I remember is the branches, because that really tells me what the system is. Here is the 1961 head coverage. This would be on a pipe schedule system. And as you can see, for ordinary hazard, for all construction types, the head coverage is 130 square feet. For extra hazard, it's 90 square feet. For storage over 12 feet, rack and 15 feet, it's 100 square feet. And for light hazard, you can see that smooth ceiling is 200. All other Xing out wood joist are 168. I believe wood joist is 130. It all comes into play in determining what the design is. So the sprinkler head coverage in conjunction with the pipe schedule will give you an indication of what the sprinkler design was expected to be. (1972) saw the introduction of the occupancy density curves in NFPA 13. If you reviewed my first video, you saw a rather lengthy discussion on where they started and my feeling on just the scientific basis of these curves. Nevertheless, they are critically important in us understanding the design of an existing sprinkler system. Please refer to NFPA 13 for more information on these curves. Okay, so let's summarize what we've done over the last two presentations. First, of course, we have sketched out a system, and now we've discussed history. So let's just all be on the same page and assume that any system prior to 1972 is a pipe schedule system. There were hydraulic systems, but we're going to call all the systems a pipe schedule system. Post 72 systems can be hydraulic or pipe schedules. As a matter of fact, the 2022 NFPA 13 still includes pipe schedule, but there are a number of limitations making it prohibitive from installation for the most part. But we can say that from 72 on, we're really leaning towards hydraulic systems. And in the next presentation, I will demonstrate to you how to easily distinguish between a pipe schedule and a hydraulic system. We need to identify pre-40 systems, and that is because of the 1, 2, 3 system with the 3/4 inch end lines. We're also going to need to be able to identify the 235 system from the 125 system. The reason that we need to be able to delineate and separate all these different systems is that I'm going to introduce some tables that will give us an indicator of what the system's capable of doing. And it will all be based on these 235 versus 125 versus 1 through 3 systems. The last point that I have yet to discuss, and we'll be discussing this in a lot more detail, is that the tables that I will be using are based on a supposed water supply. Now, the water supply has a great impact in the overall output of the sprinkler system. I've seen sprinkler systems with 30 psi static, 20 psi residual, and I've seen systems with 150 static and 140 residual. Well, as you can imagine, the 150 psi systems going through the same piping are going to provide significantly more output than a system with 30 psi. I'll show you in the upcoming presentations how to graphically show those differences. But as for now, we're going to use that as the separation, the pre-72, post-72, and in the next presentation, we're going to discuss pipe schedule alone and how to come to some determination as to what the capability of the system is. See you next month.